The story unfolds with a glimpse into the past, where we witness the events leading up to Tamiya's captivity. He was hailed as the Blade Dragon, a warrior without equal in all 8 provinces. Such was his power and prowess that he seldom encountered anyone who could challenge him. However, fate intervened, and a nobleman approached him with an offer to become one of his officers. Lured by the promise of lucrative benefits, Tamiya accepted the proposal. During a jovial celebration of their newfound partnership, the Lord expressed doubt in Tamiya's title as the Blade Dragon, triggering a violent outburst from him. Enraged by the slight, Tamiya razed the Lord's front gates to the ground and fatally wounded him. This act of fury provoked the Lord's entire clan to seek vengeance against Tamiya. As Tamiya faced his ultimate fate, a sentence of death, he found himself transported back to the present, standing on the shores of an unfamiliar island. As he confronted his executioner, he couldn't help but notice the disconcerting tools of the trade that were on full display. He questioned the man about his macabre profession, but Fuchi was quick to defend his work, insisting that it was crucial to advancing the field of medicine. Fuchi's sword was drawn in response, but Tamiya was not intimidated, warning him not to disrespect the vital work they were doing. Tamiya's resolve wavered for a moment as a vision of his true intentions flashed before his eyes. He had originally planned to eliminate all his competition before embarking on a quest to find the legendary elixir. But in the face of this new threat, the monsters that roamed the island, his priorities quickly shifted. Meanwhile, Gabimaru studied one of the creatures closely, its head adorned with a string of prayer beads. He wondered if the monster was a living being or something altogether different. As Gabimaru studied the fantastical appearance of the fish-headed monster, his instincts told him that danger lurked around every corner of the treacherous island. Despite his annoyance at the unwanted hassle, he couldn't help but feel on edge. Suddenly, the monster broke its prayer beads and launched an attack, its multiple arms lashing out at Gabimaru. But the skilled shinobi was too quick, effortlessly dodging the creature's blows and retaliating with a fierce kick that split its head open. Even in the midst of battle, he had confirmed that the creature was indeed alive, a fact that intrigued him. Remembering his shinobi training, Gabimaru considered his options. Their fifth code dictated that one should never engage with an unknown enemy, and he wondered if it was wise to retreat. His attention was momentarily drawn to Ser, who was struggling with butterflies, but his thoughts were quickly interrupted as the monster seized him with its tentacles, squeezing until it drew blood before flinging him into the forest, leaving him lying on the ground. Sajiri rushed over to check on Gabimaru, her concern mounting as she saw his bloodied hand. The danger of the island was becoming increasingly clear, but what surprised her more was that the monster had managed to injure the skilled shinobi so badly. They quickly agreed to retreat, but their plans were cut short as they found themselves surrounded by a horde of towering monsters, all bearing down on them with menacing grins. As the creatures closed in, Sajiri struggled to remain calm and focused, while Gabimaru gave in to his primal instincts. His eyes gleamed with a terrifying clarity as he unleashed a barrage of fire attacks, taking out his first target with devastating precision. The shinobi's rage intensified as he continued to massacre the monsters with a brutal efficiency that left Sajiri stunned and numb. She realized with horror just how dire the situation had become when she felt a presence looming behind her, charging up for an attack. Sajiri manages to evade the attacking centipede-like monsters, but they try to restrain her as the creature prepares for another assault. Gabimaru, out of the corner of his eye, notices this, but his instincts compel him to focus on the enemies in front of him. He ultimately decides to save Sajiri, slicing off the monster's hand before it can harm her. As he regains consciousness, holding on to Sajiri, the fish-head creature attempts to attack them again, but is intercepted and dispatched by Genji. Yuzuria expresses admiration for Gabimaru's ability to single-handedly vanquish all the monsters. She introduces herself as a fellow ninja. Gabimaru is initially angry about their interference in his battle, but remembers his wife's advice to express gratitude to those who help him. Thus, he thanks Yuzuria and her team for their assistance, but also seeks to understand their motives for helping them. Yuzuria moves closer to Gabimaru and advises him to relax, as the monsters have been dealt with. She commends his dependability and courage, especially as she observes him saving Sajiri. As she watches Gabimaru stand tall despite his heavy wounds, Yuzuria is impressed with his tenacity. She attempts to entice him to join forces, citing her fear of the perilous surroundings. However, Gabimaru is no easy target for seduction. He reveals his familiarity with Kunoichi's seduction techniques, causing Yuzuria to retreat knowing that she has failed. Nevertheless, Yuzuria emphasizes her seriousness about working together, as safety in numbers is paramount. Interrupting their conversation, Sajiri inquires about Yuzuria's 2 executioners. Genji explains that he was previously assigned to Makia but was tricked and ultimately ended up with Yuzuria. He felt that one executioner would not be enough to manage her, hence the addition of a second. Gabimaru and Sajiri are skeptical of Genji's explanation and quickly deduce that he was also seduced by Yuzuria's charm. Sajiri remarks that Genji's weakness has always been women, and that's why he fell for Yuzuria's tricks. Senta takes advantage of the lull in the conversation to introduce himself, but Yuzuria cuts him off and moves on to the next order of business. She shares that they also encountered abnormal insects, monsters, and statues on their way due to the dangerous nature of the place they were in. While finding the elixir quickly is important, there's no point in recklessly charging forward without a plan. Gabimaru is surprised that Yuzuria wants to work with him, given that she called him disappointing before they even landed on the island. However, she tries to play it off as if she doesn't remember making those comments. Sajiri reassures Gabimaru that she's fine with them working together, but Yuzuria's excitement gets the better of her and she tries to hug him. Gabimaru quickly apprehends her and tells her that he never agreed to work with her, as he believes that Kunoichi can't be trusted. Hearing him mention trust makes Yuzuria laugh, and she performs a maneuver that brings Gabimaru closer to her. With a sly smile, Yuzuria tells Gabimaru that trust is not necessary between them, they can betray each other at any time. However, she points out that since only one of them will be granted a pardon, it's best to use each other's skills to find the elixir as quickly as possible. Gabimaru is cautious, so when Yuzuria tries to play the damsel in distress, he instructs her to stop the act and explain how working together would benefit him. Yuzuria reveals that she has valuable information about the island's dangers and wants to trade it for Gabimaru's strength. Senta brings out some books to show Gabimaru the kind of information they have, and one piece of information catches his attention. The real danger on the island is not the giant monsters, but the butterflies. These creatures are often found hovering around the larger monsters, and their scales contain dangerous hallucinogens and poison. Yuzuria confesses that she used Makia as a test subject to learn about the butterfly's behavior, and also shares that centipedes only eat dead flesh. As Senta shares his knowledge about the religious symbols worn by the monsters, Gabimaru realizes that the island holds many secrets, and working with Yuzuria and Senta may be the key to finding the elixir and earning his freedom. Sajiri, listening closely, realizes that she has not done anything after coming to island. She feels powerless and suddenly collapses. Meanwhile, Toma, a trainee, shows his sword cut to Izan and was asked to perform a last task before getting approval, to which Toma adamantly insists that he is the one who chose the criminal to face. He hurries to Aza's cell and expresses his gratitude for waiting, but the surprise revelation is made that the two are actually brothers. Toma had infiltrated the clan solely to save his beloved sibling. However, Aza complains of being violently disciplined while waiting. Toma informs of a way they can evade the law's pursuit. Back to the present, the brothers find themselves facing a group of peculiar monsters, leaving them stunned. Toma reveals that Aza's exceptional ability to swiftly assess a situation and navigate through it has been the key to their success. Though they were originally from the samurai class, their father's demise plunged them into poverty, and their mother passed away shortly thereafter. They were subsequently attacked by bandits, but with Aza's skills, they managed to join their ranks and he eventually became their leader. The situation on the island is no different. Aza immediately launches an attack on the monsters, but his weapon shatters. The Bandit King advises his younger brother that they should slip past the creatures. However, as they move, Toma's lengthy hair gets tangled up by monster, but Aza chooses not to halt their escape. Nonetheless, Toma manages to free himself and strike back. With a mighty swing of his giant axe, the Bandit King finishes off the monster and expresses his gratitude to his younger brother for holding them off while he retrieved his weapon. He's impressed to see that the creature's weapons are effective against their own kind. Suddenly, one of the monsters throws a staff at the Bandit King's face and shocks them by informing them that murder is a sin. Toma suggests that they might be in hell rather than heaven, which triggers Oza to go on a rampage and annihilate all the monsters. Throughout their struggles, Oza has always been Toma's rock. The brothers then devise a plan to eradicate all the criminals and monsters before they find the elixir, which they intend to drink to become immortal. However, Toma cautions that the people they encounter will also be dangerous, as they've survived the monsters' attacks. Meanwhile, Senta carries an unconscious Sajiri as the group moves forward, bringing the episode to an end. If you enjoyed it, then don't forget to subscribe our channel, aniexplainer.